And what they do is exactly what the name sounds. They drink beer and play board games.
And I mean,
it's my kind of job.
That very idea just, I mean, I want to stop doing the podcast right now and go check it out because I haven't had a chance yet. And for those people who aren't aware, Matt Sloan, he goes off and he's done the voice of Darth Vader for a lot of the recent video games. He did voice for Vader on the recent episodes of Rebels. As well, and
they also created
the Lego cartoons as well.
Yeah, they also created Chad Vader, which if you haven't checked out Chad Vader, I urge you to do it. Go to YouTube and look it up. Go
check out YouTube and just look up Chad Vader. It's what the premise of it is to take Darth Vader's cousin Chad and kind of do a fish out of water thing where he's made the manager of a grocery store. And just some of the hilarity around that.
It is absolutely hilarious and worth watching.
Absolutely. And it was a very interesting interview. Again, these guys are...
Well, yeah, because before that point, our biggest call to fame was Len Denton, who, that was our biggest celebrity. This is literally our next step up. And we thought that's pretty much where we were going to end.
And then we went off and we managed to nail down an interview with
Patrick Sabongi.
Patrick Sabongi. And for those people who aren't really familiar with him, he's been in movies like 300.
The Watchmen.
He is probably best known as Captain Singh from The Flash. And he has a small part in the recent Power Rangers movie.
He was actually the Yellow Ranger's dad.
Yeah. And it was absolutely huge. The interview, we got to sit down with him. We went off and asked him about some of the things that he's regretted. Because of his background, he has admitted that he is not proud of the fact that early in his career, he went off and did some of the stereotypical Muslim characters that seem to be such a thing in Hollywood these days, to live off the stereotypes. But I mean, it was a great interview. And on a personal level, he was probably my favorite celebrity of the day. He actually took the time. I mean, for the most part, all the celebrities that were there, they would sign any, autographs for free. There was one guest there that he was, I think, charging $10 to have one of his photos done. But anything else you would sign. He actually went out of his way he took a picture with my son. My son had fallen asleep in his stroller, walking around, and according to my wife, she was walking around a couple times, and every time she'd pass him, he says, is he still sleeping? Yeah. And so eventually he said, here, and gave someone, my wife's phone, and got down, crunched down next to my son, and, and they took a photo, and it's an absolutely adorable photo. I'm going to treasure that photo dearly for probably years to come. So just on a personal level, I mean, I think was probably my favorite guest that we had over this past weekend. If you guys want to go off and check out that photo, it is on our Facebook page. Go on Facebook, search Captain Fizz and the Mask Guy, and you'll find that in amongst all the great stuff that we had on there.
That truly was a great one, and not just if it was anyone's kid, it would be the same meaning. It shows how great of a guy that Patrick actually is to take a time out of his schedule and do something like that. But for us to be able to say, and I know Lazy Nerd was talking to me afterwards. My hands were literally shaking, and there were so many different reasons why, and I think the main reason being is the realization that we literally just had a guest on our show who, has admitted that there are things that he's not proud of. That it wasn't just an actor or an actress or somebody in Hollywood. It was a human being,
and it was, and I mean, just face it. I mean, and just the amount of things that he has went off and done. And just, everything about him. I mean, the fact that, he was, he went off and he talked a little bit about Zack Schneider, who unfortunately went through such a tragedy recently in his life, and just the type of work ethic that Zack Schneider has. Gave me a whole new respect for him. And he went off and talked a little bit about Josh Whedon, and they went off and they did, Cabin in the Woods, and just how secretive that the whole acting process had to be around there, because Josh Whedon was trying to keep everything under lock and key as long as possible, just because of what they were trying to do in trying to prevent, everyone from finding out. I mean, he was really trying to keep that spoilers free. I mean, just everything, the interview, a lot of the stuff that, he went off and he shared with us. I mean, guys, go back. You gotta listen to this interview. It's by far one of our favorites.
His interview is definitely the one that you don't want to miss. To hear anybody talk so deeply and so passionate about what they love and all this, definitely worth it. And we generally kept some of the questions the same for all of them, and the biggest one is what advice would you give to the ones coming into it. And I love his answer the best, so I'm not going to spoil it, because I want you guys all to listen to it, because it's one interview that will stick with you. It has definitely stuck with us. It really has. One of the very important ones. So go on our Facebook, go listen to it. You can listen to just the words, that's fine and all, but you really want to have the video. You want to see the look on his face, all that stuff. It is definitely down to earth. And then we both actually thought that was it.
We thought that from there, we thought, okay, it can't get any better than this.
And the best part is, I was walking away from the table. I think I was actually going to go pee. I don't care, what people think. I was heading to the washroom, and as I'm heading there, I see a Fanquest staff walking with DC Douglas, and they're heading our way. And I'm like, okay, dude, it's time. We got to go back to our table. I think I grabbed you by the arm. It's like, let's turn around. We got to turn around. We have to go back to the table.
For people who don't know, DC Douglas does the voice for Albert Wesker, and some of the oh my God, I can't.
Resident Evil.
Thank you. I'm having the brain fart here. So, we had too much stuff.
As we're standing there though, and you weren't sure what I was saying or I'm like, dude, we have to go back to the table. Like, we have to turn around. We have to go back. And then you kind of glanced out of the corner of your eye and you saw them walking. And I don't think I've ever seen you turn that fast. I think
okay, here we go.
Yeah, it was at that moment that we realized, okay, he wasn't just walking from the front to the back. He was walking towards us. So we pretty much, we jumped, I grabbed my computer. I think I had just put my computer back. Literally. And then we headed for this interview. And that was a whole different experience.
Yeah, it's for DC is a very interesting gentleman. He is far from being PG-13 in a lot of this stuff. He's got a one-man show that he goes off and he frequently does, and it can get very interesting if you've ever went off and you've seen it. He managed to go off and stay PG for us, which I think even surprised him. Because he went up and went on his Facebook page and his Twitter and pretty much told them to let us have it. And but I mean, it was a very entertaining interview. It was kind of a little bit different because he's found most of his success in voice acting, as opposed to Patrick earlier on, who's found most of his success, doing films and stuff. But again, I mean, he gave some great advice. Just asking questions. I mean, just the amount of wit that he had was absolutely great. And at the end of that interview, he went off and got our friend's son to go off and try to do his best imitation of Darth Vader, since he was actually dressed up as Darth Vader. And it was humorous. It was great. I just love the fact. I mean, he went off and he did a shout out to my son as well. My son apparently was not dressed up at all, but he was probably one of the best known people at at Fanquest all weekend long. He was referred to many as being the famous little red-haired boy.
Yes.
So he went off and made sure to bring up the famous little red-haired boy on our podcast, which was quite humorous.
Yeah, no, and of course we topped off the whole weekend with Chloe from Chloe Sky cosplay, and unfortunately that video was definitely very loud, just because we kind of miscalculated how loud and how early people were starting to take their stuff down. It kind of emptied out pretty fast,
and also we had some problems with the video. I'm not sure why, but it is stuck on the side.
You know what?
I'm not sure how to
considering
fix that.
how little technical difficulties we had this weekend, I will be happy with the two minor technical difficulties that we did.
The other one being that just before we went off and decided to interview Patrick, your computer decided it was going to do a download and an update, and literally, I mean, I think we literally had to use your phone.
We had to use my phone, and Patrick and his rep were definitely very, very nice about it. So that, and you got to still listen to the Chloe interview. It was a very unique point of view from her. This was her first time being a guest at a convention, as well. So very, very unique.
It was interesting to go off and to compare the two interviews that we went off and we saw that we had, the one with Jay Tanuki on Saturday and the one we had with Chloe Sky on Sunday, and just their two different perspectives on it. You have, Chloe, you have Jay Tanuki, who is very,
she's been doing cosplay for about 13 years.
13 years, and she is very secretive about new cosplays that she comes out with, while Sky, goes off and does videos on everything. So, she is not secretive at all. People who go off and who tune out to her Twitch go off and have learned everything as it's going along, because she literally gives people step-by-step on the process that she goes through. So, I encourage you guys, if you are into cosplay, go off and check out Chloe Sky cosplay. And I think you'll find a lot of the videos that she goes off and does very informative, and I think would really help you guys, to improve your own cosplays.
Absolutely. So all in all, this was an absolutely phenomenal weekend. There's really no complaints from either one of us. I know your wife just asked this question of what our next event is going to be. Now, the next event we're actually showing up to as guests, I know for me, is going to probably be, I might show up to the C4 run pirate social that they're doing on June 10th. A little smaller, it replaces the Swords and Sabers that they did last year. Other than that, I think the next one is Icon, which is definitely going to be on a smaller scale. But
I think we're, for the time being anyways, we're going to kind of step back and go back to a more fans, this was the first time that we've ever been on the other side of the table. It was, I will admit, it was energizing and exhausting. Just to go back, literally the tables that we had were packed, right together. So you only had two choices here. You either, we were stuck right in the middle. So until
Sunday,
and I'll get to that. So we had three choices. Either we could jump over the tables,
which was not recommended,
which neither of us were about to do. B, climb under the tables, which I think we ended up doing for all throughout Saturday, and our knees pretty much told us we could not do it.
We actually started calling it the table giving birth.
A table giving birth, yeah. Or three, you had to literally go all the way down, past everyone else, and there was only about 6 inches to a foot behind everyone else. And so you had to try not to smack everybody upside the head as you're going along the line.
We definitely did have it entertaining. It allowed us to get used to our neighbors so much. I think we made our neighbors really, really excited on the Sunday, because we actually